Hello everyone, this is Ava coming to you from Soul GPS. Welcome to my channel. Today the topic of this video is going to be narcissists and holidays. There's a lot of content circulating online on this topic, and that is fantastic because we could all use some help and assistance during this highly sensitive time. Recently, I have myself experienced some really interesting narcissistic behavior. And so I've been thinking about this a lot, and because I wasn't actually initially going to do a video on this because, again, there's just so much great information on it out there. But then I myself got affected, and it really struck a chord and made me think. So I decided to put my thoughts together, organize them, and bring it to you with the hope that it will help you get through this time with dignity and with some having a good time. Ultimately, that's what it's about. It's about a connection and a good time, and slowing down from the chaotic daily existence. So here's my take. So if you happen to be in the vicinity of a person who has a cluster B personality disorder during the holidays, know I'm with you and know that you are not alone. Many of us are going to have to struggle with this, and this is also likely the reason why you're watching this video. Now, my general take on why the narcissists behave the way they do and why their behavior, their destructive behavior, really kicks up to this higher gear during this time of the year is because they don't want to lose control, and oftentimes they feel like that's what's happening because then the normal persons, the healthy persons, or the empaths or the codependents attention is on festivities and it's on preparation and having a good time and planning this and that, and they just can't take that. They have to find a way to pull your attention from that and refocus it on themselves. So this is kind of like a child throwing a tantrum and say, look at me, give me my supply, give me my attention, give me time, because I need that, I need that from you so I feel alive, so I feel like I matter. So they're control freaks, and they're control freaks because deep inside they don't have control over their own minds, over their own thoughts and emotions. And so what they're going to do is project that chaos outwards and focus their attention on the tangible world and try to control that instead, which unfortunately includes you. So they like to ruin holidays. How do they do it? Well, it ranges, and I'm going to give you a whole bunch of examples I've written down, but it ranges from rages and anger and, them just coming in and ruining a perfectly nice evening with comments, with their behavior, with, throwing all sorts of insults at you, or from doing really horrible things that are akin to betrayal, talking about you, cheating on you, ignoring you, and things like that. It's in an effort to bring the attention on themselves, but also to kind of let everyone out there know that they're entitled to doing whatever it is that they please, and so that's how they choose to live their life, and that's what they're going to do. The other end of the spectrum, it's oftentimes self-pity, something that's quite common in my circles, and this is how they like to draw attention to themselves, is just playing the card of poor me. Oh, you're abandoning me, and I have to be here suffering on my own, and nobody cares, and this, and I have to do all of this, and so on and so forth. So you may come across one or the other, and of course it depends on the actual makeup of the person. Are they more covert or overt? Are they more NPD or BPD, and so on and so forth? Everybody's going to be a little bit different, but there's going to be a lot of similarity. And the main similarity is the fact that they're trying to get your attention, to pull away from whatever it is that you're doing that's important to you and give it to them, because they have to be more important than whatever it is that you're doing, obviously. So sociopaths, actually, they might even, take some time plotting and planning as to just how exactly they're going to sabotage your good time. So examples, for instance, would be, let's say that you're planning to go out with your friends, before Christmas, or, one of the evenings, With your girl, you want to spend time with girls. And with your guy, you want to spend time with the guys. And so what they're going to do is, they'll create a situation to prevent you from doing that. They're going to either throw a tantrum or, make up some reason, whatever it is, that, will prevent you or make you feel guilty about going out. For instance, they can plant seeds of illness, days in advance, saying that they haven't been feeling well. And so, when the night when they know that it's important for you to go out and connect with some friends or family, they're going to then kick it up and make you feel really bad for them because now they're sick and you're leaving them alone and so they're going to play that self-pity card. What else? For instance, you're in the middle of preparing a dinner for your family and time is running out, and of course, they're as much help as they can be by, watching as much TV or doing anything and everything but helping you. And say then you ask them to go to the groceries and because you forgot something, you're missing a key ingredient for the feast. And they'll come back, without that important key ingredient. And that's going to make you all stressed out. Now you're going to have to go do it yourself and you're running out of time and it's just chaos. And of course, they'll find a way to spin the situation so that it's your fault and that you did it. So that's another way. They can be somewhat creative with that, without giving them too much credit. Or they'll give you a silent treatment. They will cause an argument, give you a silent treatment, and then slam the doors and leave, and you won't hear from them for hours. And you'll feel alone and worried and abandoned. Or, one way is they can abandon you also by just literally tuning out, opening a beer and watching TV, or going out shopping, during the time where you were supposed to be together, or not showing up during a trip that you have planned, and so on and so forth, all in an effort to devalue you and show you how little you mean to them. Whereas they, of course, they deserve to do whatever they please, and you ought to accept that and put up with that. What else? They can be spreading rumors about you, telling their friends they're flying monkeys and creating smear campaigns, telling them how you've been neglecting them and it's all about the parties and the holidays, but they're suffering on their own and they don't get any attention from you. So they can turn you into a monster. They will be changing plans, frustrating you, everything last minute. You think you're doing this, suddenly the plans change, now you're doing that. And it's all in an effort to create a lot of chaos. Or they will be mean to their kids and start complaining how the holidays are just making them so tired because there's so much to do and everybody wants something from them. And this and that's going to be a lot of complaint and neglect going on. And again, more self-pity. And they will be saying things like that you're making them do all these things, all the while they're doing the minimum to the absolute minimum that they can to get away with it. They will not say thank you when you do nice things for them. Or they will take a credit for all the work, all the hard work you have been doing and putting into preparing an event, say a family dinner or something like that. Or they will buy a gift that they themselves wanted, or completely ignore you and not buy you a gift. So when you're in the middle of that situation, this one's familiar to me, when you're in the middle of a situation where everybody's opening gifts and presents, your significant other, there won't be a present from them. And, everybody else is going to be like, oh, sweetie, thank you for getting me this and that. And you notice there's nothing there for you. And then you can't really quite say anything because now it's going to kind of be weird. So you're stuffing it inside and suffering it inside. And then when you try to bring it up later, you're going to get rage and more silent treatment. Or they will get drunk and start arguing with you. That I have heard stories of happening on the wedding night, and when during the time where the couple is supposed to experience a very special night together, the bride or the groom is going to completely ignore that and go and get drunk and, get lost somewhere and just not show up, not be present there for that. Or just they will abandon you at home with the kids, and all the while they go and do something else and not even contact you until, the next day. And there's some cheap argument that, you made them feel this or that and they weren't feeling welcome, and all to incite guilt in you if that is the button that's hot for you. Or they will, be glued to the television, as I had said before, or play video games and not be there for you. So there are many examples, and these are just some that I came up with. I would love to hear from you. If you have any, please put them down below and let us know how you handle them. Now, what should you do? And in the event that there is a cognitive dissonance, because so often it happens, especially in the relationships in which you've been so entrenched and made used to that behavior, made accept that behavior, and you're starting to second guess yourself, because oftentimes what the narcissist will do is they will come up with an excuse or an argument that does contain either your hot button or a little grain of truth. They would just skew it severely, and all of that is to make you second guess yourself and doubt yourself and wonder, well, maybe I really did something bad, maybe I did hurt them in some ways. So remember, this is not so much about trying to make sense out of the situation with your head, because your head has been muddled by extended exposure to sickness, really, exposure to toxicity, exposure to a disorder. It's called a disorder for a reason. So if you were exposed to disorder for a longer period of time, it's really difficult to think straight. So rather than trying to figure out with your head, with your mind, what I would suggest is get into your body and notice how you feel. If you're not feeling well, if you're not feeling serene, peaceful, positive, inspired, or at least just like in your baseline, just drifting, floating in kind of this comfortable space, but instead you're feeling achy, when you're thinking about that person, you feel betrayed, you feel like something's wrong, you can't quite tell, but you feel something's wrong, then that's something to pay attention to. Not so much what's really happening and try to analyze it, but more like, oh, I'm not feeling well. That means something isn't well. That's how the universe communicates with us. If we don't feel well, that's because something isn't well. So what can you do? Well, I came up with 5 strategies of how to deal with narcissists or other toxic family members, friends, significant others, children, spouses, and so on during the holidays. And here's my list. So number 1 is refuse to play along. And you can do it in many ways. One way would be to literally just walk out of the room and not engage with them. Another way would be to just focus on yourself. Do your own thing and enjoy yourself. Another one would be don't feed into the drama. Don't pick up on the arguments they're putting down. They're going to be trying to provoke you. Just don't do it. Ignore it. Just let it go. Because here's the thing, it costs them nothing to incite these arguments, because this is who they are. This is how they are all the time in their own head. It's almost like, I would imagine they're constantly arguing with other people in their head, even if there's nobody around. And so it costs them nothing. This is what they do. But it costs you a lot because you're sensitive. It's because you want things to be nice. So engaging in this form of dialogue, in this form of exchange that isn't going to end well, because it's not meant to. It's meant to ruffle your feathers. It's meant to upset you. So there's just no point of getting deeper into it. Let them rage. Let them do their thing. Do not engage. Strategy number 2, I actually just mentioned it earlier, is physically leave the room. And I go a little bit deeper in another video I made called How to Obliterate a Narcissist. And I'm going to link it down below. It's an older video I did when I was back in Slovenia this summer. But I find that it helps so many people because it lists 3 main strategies of how to, deal with those people. And one of it is to literally just remove yourself from the environment. And do not feel that because it's holidays that you should be there for other people. You should be there first and foremost for yourself and for those who really love you and those who really appreciate you. If it's a toxic person, you owe them nothing, especially if they're trying to bring you down and spoil your time. So leave the room. Strategy number 3 is focus on your well-being. Nurture your body, nurture yourself. This goes for before, during, and after the holidays. It's something that would be great if it became a regular thing for you. Eating well, practicing deep breathing, meditation, movement, exercise. I understand that during the holidays, it's really difficult to find time for yourself because it is so busy. There's so many things to do. But what if if you were to make a list of all the things that need to be done, maybe there's some things you can drop from the list. Perhaps there's some things that are not really necessary. You think they're necessary because you've been doing them every year, but maybe they're really not. And so if you drop them from your list, you get that space that opens up. Now, don't try to fill that space immediately with something to do for somebody else, because that's kind of the inclination. That's how we've been trained to do things. Instead, ask yourself, how could you spend this time nurturing yourself, and plan accordingly? You can book an appointment for yourself for spa, go get a massage, make that a present for yourself. Go on a walk in the park, buy yourself a nice journal, go to a cafe and write in the journal for a couple of hours. Go read a book, go to a bookstore and get a book you've always wanted to read, or just create a little sanctuary for yourself in your own home and lay down, put your hands on your body, one on your belly, one on your heart, just lay down and breathe. And with every breath, release all the stress and bring in light and positive energy. Maybe some nice visions of beautiful future will come up in your mind. And if that's the case, then write them down and nurture them, because that could be your inner self. It could be your intuition whispering to you. And of course, very important is to make sure you get enough rest. So again, it is really easy to get swept into the motion of the holidays, into the frenzy. And maybe there will be a few nights where you'll feel like you are drained, you haven't gotten enough sleep. So try to go to bed earlier the next day. When you're starting to feel like you're coming down, make yourself chamomile tea, take a digital sunset. Such a great concept. One guy that I follow, he's on to optimizing your experience, your life, and he talks about taking a digital sunset every day at 6 p.m. What that means is he shuts down his whole family. They shut down computers, phones, everything, just to have family time and be together, or go out and be in nature, or share a nice dinner. So taking digital sunsets is something I highly recommend. Number 4, just don't invite them over. If it is a friend, or if it is a boyfriend or girlfriend that you're not living with together, somebody who you might be suspecting is a narcissist, and you are already starting to see signs of their behavior getting worse and worse as the holidays approach, whether that being more in the self-pity zone or more in the rage zone, just don't invite them. Just don't do it, and let the action speak for itself. And step number 5 is enjoy time alone. I know that there's this tradition, I guess, that we should be with our families during this time, but who said that that is the only way? I have heard of plenty of examples of, myself included, of spending alone time during a holiday and just being with you, being with yourself and doing the things you love. Maybe, spend your Christmas in pajamas and create presents for yourself and, put wrap on them and open them while you're sipping on a cappuccino, wearing nice fluffy socks, and then spend the rest of your day reading your favorite book or doing a marathon of your favorite show. Go take a nice bath. Be there for yourself. Write in a journal. Just do a day that's just for you. Don't worry if you do not sincerely feel like spending time with other people. It is your life. These are your decisions. And we need to listen to what our bodies and our minds and our hearts really want every once in a while. It will set us on the right trajectory. And oftentimes it's like a domino effect. We do one thing right. We change the direction slightly. Realign our compass down a different direction. And then from there, there's another path that opens up, rather than trying to constantly satisfy everybody else and people please and then end up, not feeling fulfilled or happy. Also, you can invite yourself somewhere else. Talk to your friends. Tell them, that you don't really have any plans. And perhaps you end up getting invited by somebody really wonderful that you haven't considered before and forging a new friendship. You never know. So I think it's really better to, unless you really have good friends, even if they're not here, you can always make a phone call or do a Skype with them. But I think it's better to be alone or with a pet, even nicer, one that you unconditionally love and one that unconditionally loves you back, than to be around toxicity, simmering in that horrible nastiness where people are getting drunk, and before you know it, they're all smearing each other behind their back and eating unhealthy, heavy food, and the next and drinking, themselves to sleep, and the next day you're going to wake up with a headache and feeling like crap. When instead you could be having a very different holiday experience solo, even if it means going that route. And you may notice something really interesting as a result. So I wanted to say one more thing before I wrap up, which is that recently I have spoken with some of my clients, and this theme keeps surfacing, and that is a theme of loneliness. And I've made video on it. I'm going to make more videos on it because this is a very relevant topic for us. And so, for instance, there are these people who find themselves being alone on holidays as Christmas is approaching. They're either divorced or they have just broken up with their partner, and they look around at their friends and their family, and they see these clusters of families, and they wonder, I've spent so much time, I've wasted so much time with the wrong people, and they kind of berate themselves and feel bad about the choices that they have made. Well, I want to really dispel that thinking here before I wrap up. And the reason why is because the reason why things went the way they did is because there were lessons that you needed to learn by being with those toxic people. And these lessons are going to come to fruition in time, and you'll see the gifts from that. And the gift generally is return to the self, coming back to your source, coming back to being the person who you were meant to be, and being able to be there for yourself in a way that no one has ever been there for yourself. Becoming a sovereign being, in other words. That is the goal. Now, ask yourself the question, couldn't you have stayed? Couldn't you have put up with the abuse? If you were to go along with the agenda, if you were to go along with the person trying to coerce you to be a certain way, abusing you, hurting you, betraying you, cheating on you, lying to you, if you were to accept that, even if they were more covert and you just sensed that something was off, but maybe you didn't have as much proof, but you still sensed that there was something wrong, and you had the courage, the guts to leave that situation because deep inside you knew there was a better way. Ask yourself, had you stayed, you could have been in one of those family clusters, right? So from the outside, somebody else might be looking at you going, wow, look at this happy couple, look at this happy family. But you'd know deep inside that you weren't really happy. So you want to give yourself a credit for being true enough to yourself to have the courage to leave and do something else and now be alone for a period of time. As you're purging the pain, the hurt, the wounds, as you're exploring who you really are and what really happened. What really happened? Why did things turn out that way? That takes so much courage. So I want to commend you on doing that. And do not worry that you might be spending the holidays alone. As I have said before, you may discover something really great from it. But most importantly, give yourself a deep hug for not putting up with abuse and choosing a different route. A route in a path towards freedom and sovereignty. Because if you walk it all the way up and you make it to the summit, and you'll know when you made it to the summit, because you're going to feel so comfortable in your skin. You're going to love yourself so much. You're going to see this experience as a gift. On that mountaintop, there are going to be others who also have been through this journey. And then you can link up and join up with them, and you can see what can happen out of that. So that's a very, very different approach than staying on the bottom in the chaos, in the unawareness, so to speak, and bumping up to people who are sort of the polar opposites when it comes to their attachment style, right? So oftentimes people who are victims of abuse are the anxious attachers. They're seeking out other people to validate them, whereas the narcissists are the ones that are typically, this is I'm speaking very generally, the kind of ambivalent. They don't care about other people, it's all about them. they're looking to use other people. So when you bring the two together, it's like chemistry. It feels like they have just met each other's soulmate, but it's toxic and it's unhealthy. So to detach from that and then look at where you came from, why did this happen this way, why you ended up where you are today, and then climb that mountain and do the work and go through the process. That takes so much guts and courage and energy and time and suffering and pain and facing all of that, facing yourself. But let me tell you, there's no other process that I think is worth more than this. And if you're asking yourself, how do I begin? What do I do? Just always go within and let your inner compass guide you. Thank you so much. And I wish you wonderful holidays. Take care. Bye.